Okay, welcome to class number 7. This week's exercise is, if I was to explain it the way I teach it to the older people that I work with, it would be kind of confusing. It's called the dreaded association exercise. So I'm going to give you the very simple direction, and once I give it to you, you could stop this video or you could listen for a couple minutes and I'll explain the complicated way. So what I want you to do this week is I want you to continue writing in your journal about whatever you're writing about. Keep practicing the seeing, the two types of seeing, your memories, moment, or if you're writing, making stuff up, but see what you're writing about. Include the details, the 7 elements of the image, use moments, dialogue, actions. Keep playing around with the image moment where you're pausing in between dialogue or in between, and in those pauses inserting the details of the image. And whatever it is you're writing about, or if you're just writing simple journal entries about your thoughts and feelings, what I want you to do is every 3 or 4 lines, whatever your let's say 3 or 4 lines have gone by and you're in a sentence, what I want you to do is throw in a random word into the sentence that you're writing. Every 3 or 4 lines do this. The random word obviously is not going to connect, it's random. It could be swapped out for a word. So for example, I just went to the mall with my son, we waited online and we got delicious computer and it was worth the wait. That computer, no one sells computer like this place. It's like sweet, but it's actually healthy. Okay, so obviously I swiped it out for ice cream, the word computer. It could have said we waited online and we got the most delicious computer ice cream. So in this, so the random word could be like inserted into the sentence. It could be swapped out for another word. Do this every 3 or 4 lines, and first of all, you're gonna write some of the sentences are gonna sound like gibberish because like what does that mean? Wait online for some delicious computer, and also if I do repeat the word ice cream because I swapped out the word computer for it, I'll just keep repeating the word computer because that now stands in for ice cream. And the piece you're writing doesn't have to make sense. Like, well, now I have to write about delicious computer. What does that mean? No, you're writing about ice cream. So you don't have to like make sense of the random words you're using. Does that make sense? Every 3 or 4 lines, throw in a random word in the sentence that you're writing. That's it. That's the exercise. And do this I'm repeating myself. Okay. So the purpose of this exercise is a few things. First, when it comes down to it, writers enjoy playing with words. That's what writing is. You're just playing with words. So this is meant to be fun. It's a fun exercise. It's kind of like Mad Libs because at the end you're like you read it and you're like, God, that was kind of funny, kind of silly, kind of random. Sometimes the word that you throw in randomly, when you read it back, you'll see that you actually created a really cool metaphor that you wouldn't have written if you were thinking about it. I was in a class once where the woman wrote, she was writing a journal entry about a friend who was leaving. They lived in the same house and I was there and her friend was actually packing, so she was writing about it. She was feeling sad about it and she was saying, I'll never find another hat like her, was the sentence that she used it. The random word friend, she threw in the word hat. And the whole piece was really beautiful and touching. And when her friend was coming downstairs, I said, read to her what you just wrote. And she said, I'm not going to read it. It doesn't make any sense. So when she read that line, I'll never find another hat like her friend started crying because she took it as a metaphor. We all have that hat that just fits us so perfectly. And sometimes you're like, oh, this is like the perfect hat. It fits me. I love this hat. So she thought it was like a metaphor. Like my friend is like, you get what I'm saying. So sometimes this exercise leads to really cool metaphors. Sometimes it's just fun. And that's all I want to say. Now, the exercise, the way I teach it to the adults that I work with, like I said, it's called the dreaded association exercise. And there's something called a psychological association. And what that is if I say a word will naturally pop into your head when you hear that word. So if I say up, chances are down comes into your head. Or if I say happy, the word sad pops into your head. It doesn't have to be that way. Everyone's psyche, their mind works differently. That's what psychological is: psyche, your mind, and the logic, your mind logic. So that's called a psychological association. Then there's something called a psychovisual association. So if I say a word, an image might pop into your mind, and an image from your memory. So if I say window, sure, the image of a window comes into your mind, but I want you to get an image. Notice what image. And remember the 7 elements of the image. It's a window is in a setting. It's in a certain place, a certain time of day. So if I say window, notice what image comes into your mind. And then a bunch of different images come to me from my memories. I have to just choose one. Well, I'm going to choose the window of my house in high school. I used to sit in this leather armchair in my room at night after everyone had gone to sleep, and I would put on this meditation tape, and I just remember feeling super relaxed, and I just remember that window. I remember the black sky outside, and you can kind of see the dark clouds, the outline of the clouds, and just it was winter time, and just that feeling of snow and cold and winter, and sort of a peaceful feeling when everything is covered in snow. And also there was traffic that I could hear from the distant highway through that window. Okay, so you see how this whole image and then all these details and memories and feelings come back. So now I have to pick a detail from that image. So I'll say traffic. Okay, so the way the exercise works, the dreaded association exercise, is you're sitting there and you're journaling, and every 3 or 4 lines, when you get to the 3rd or 4th line, a word that you had just written, you choose which word it is. So let's say I'm journaling, and then I went home and put on the TV and was watching a really good mystery show. So I'll say the word mystery. So I do a psychological association on the word mystery. So mystery makes me think of puzzle. And then on the word puzzle, I do a psychovisual association. So puzzle, I think of my aunt's house being on the floor in my cousin's room with the brown carpeting. I don't remember which puzzles, but it just sort of, that image comes into my head, and the chessboard and summertime and the sun. So then I pick one of the details from that image. I'll say sun. And while I'm doing this in my head, I'm still journaling, and I'm maybe a sentence down the way, or maybe it took me a few sentences. The sentence that I'm now in, I take a detail from that new image and I throw it in randomly into that sentence. So you're doing what I told you to do without this process, is you're just every 3 or 4 lines throwing in a random word. By doing the dreaded association, it kind of distracts you. It's hard to think and write and do this, and it kind of distracts you from your logic and helps you tap into your unconscious mind. And sometimes you come up with images and words that there's no way you would have thought of. And one of the purposes of it is that writing is the one art form that uses the left side of your brain, which is the logic side of your brain. So all the other art forms, music, sculpting, painting, you use the right side of your brain, which is the creative, wild, imaginative side. So writing is about, especially we're creative writing here, we're trying to be creative. Sometimes it's hard to get out of your thinking logic because you're in that logic brain. So this exercise is meant to move you over to the other side of your brain while you're writing. But I'm assuming it didn't make sense. You probably even shut the video off and you're just doing the simple way, and that's what I want you to do. Random word every 3 or 4 lines, and I look forward to hearing what you came up with.